Hey everyone, what's going on? Bahroo here, and today I have the next episode of Best in Slot. And in this episode, we're going to be going over pistols. This has been a very highly requested video, and yeah, we're finally here, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. And the number one spot isn't going to be what everyone is going to be expecting, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And before I jump into the video, as always, I want to thank you all for all the amazing support you all have been showing this series. It really does mean a lot to me. But with that all the way, let's just go ahead and jump into the list here with number 5. And starting with number 5, we have the Fibber. Now this Fibber is, while the damage is higher than most of the other guns, it is a complete pain in the ass to actually use, and if you're in fight for your life, unless you are on a flat plane, you really don't have any idea where the pellets are going to go, and if you're even going to be able to get a kill in general. So really, it has the potential, but unless you're playing as maybe Maya or Gage, you're really not going to be able to do much. And if we go over to our DPS test here, you will see that it is not the easiest thing in the world to use. I'm sure people are going to say, I can use this to, no problem at all, but that's what this is here for. It is here on the list. It has the potential, but it does not have the ability to actually be used by most people. If you're playing as Gage, though, then just fire at the ground and just hope the pellets go somewhere. Now, as for parts that you're going to want for this, you're going to want the Hyperion grip, obviously, as it is a Hyperion gun, followed by a double prefix, and the sight is basically irrelevant. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on with number 4. Alright, and now for number 4. For number 4, we have the Garnet Anarchist. This is slightly better than a regular Anarchist because it does have slightly increased crit, about 7% increased crit over a regular Anarchist, outside of all the other stats being the same. So definitely, if you can get a gemstone version, go for it. If not, it's not too bad, but you'll do just fine either way. But anyway, the Garnet Anarchist is a very straightforward gun, unlike the Ricochet Fibber, so you won't have any issues using it. And if we go over to our Bad Maul test here, you'll see that it has absolutely no problems just shredding Bad Maul to pieces in just a couple of seconds here. And you'll notice that with pretty much every pistol from this point on, won't have any issues. Now, as far as parts for this gun, you're going to want a Vladoff grip and a Vladoff barrel, followed by the double prefix. And you're going to want a double prefix for pretty much every single pistol here, because it is slightly better than every other prefix, about 8% or so, based on the DPS tests. But you can use other prefix if you want to be more ammo efficient. But anyway, moving on with number 3. And now at number 3, we have the Stalker. Now the Stalker, as you can see by the stats, is basically a different version of the Anarchist. It does have slightly higher base damage and slightly lower mag, but in terms of actual output, these two perform basically the same. The projectiles on the Stalker are a little more, a little bit slower, but it really doesn't have too much of an effect on its firing abilities. And if we go to our Bad Maul test here, you'll see that it really, again, doesn't have any issues just destroying Bad Maul's health, even though this is on a higher difficulty. So overall, the Stalker, not a bad pistol. And if you can't get a Garnet Anarchist, this one will work just as fine. Now, as for the parts, again, you're going to want a matching manufacturer, so a Vladoff grip, as well as having a double prefix. And again, the sight really doesn't mean much. However, I do prefer Hyperion sights. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to number 2. And now for number 2, we have the Unkempt Herald. I know a lot of people are going to be surprised that this isn't number 1, like I'm sure everyone was expecting, but no, there is one more gun that actually beats this out, and there's a reason for that. Now, as you see in the DPS charts here, it is very handily beating the Stalker just by a ton, but if we look at a more realistic DPS chart right here, you'll notice that its damage numbers are actually a lot lower than it might suggest. And the reason I'm putting this up here is because you will not find a single enemy that you can actually hit all 14 crits on. Not even loaders. You'll still hit some body shots. And so what this chart does is that it assumes only 10 pellets hit either body or crit, which I find a little bit more realistic. And if we go over to Badmall here, now of course it is a Herald, it's not going to have any issues just tearing him apart, but you can see that even at this distance, you're not going to be able to hit all crits all the time. It's just not feasible here. So it gives a more realistic feel to the Herald, to what is possible for this gun. Now, for the parts that you're going to want for it, you're going to want a torque grip, obviously. Now, we've tried out all the other grips. It is better DPS to use a torque grip. Jacobs is not better DPS. Its rate of fire and its damage, or not its damage, its rate of fire and its mag take a big hit, which is a large DPS loss for pretty much every class, including Salvador, because even during money shot chains, you want higher fire rate, and that little bit of a hit is a DPS loss. So there is that. But anyway, you're going to, again, want the double prefix, because double prefix increases the damage of all the pistols. But let's go ahead and take a look at the one pistol that beats out the Herald. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. And now, taking the top spot in the best in slot pistols is the Lady Fist. Now, if you take a look at the body shot damage, you'll notice that it can't do really much of anything, but its headshot damage is actually very reasonable. Getting headshots with the Lady Fist is not actually that difficult, and it is much more reasonable when you compare it to the Herald. Getting headshots on the Herald isn't exactly the easiest thing in the world. Another note is that getting a fight for your life kill with the Lady Fist is extremely easy, because it basically becomes a laser after a couple of shots. So every class will be able to use this without too much problem. It also, when combined with the B, is one of the highest damaging guns in the game because of its insane critical damage. Now, going over to our Badmall test here, you will pretty much know what to expect. Badmall is going to die in just a couple of seconds, so really not going to have too much issue here. I always went to the side, but for this one, I probably should have fought him all the way from the back so you could really see its damage potential here, but decided not to do that. But anyway, for the parts that you're going to want on this Lady Fist, you're going to want a Hyperion grip. Sight, again, is irrelevant, but I do recommend a Hyperion sight. The reason I recommend Hyperion sights is because you don't have to deal with as much visual recoil as you do with all of the other sights. And again, you're going to want a double prefix, but as far as the Lady Fist goes, you can go with any prefix that you kind of desire here, because, well, outside of accuracy, because that's mildly irrelevant, but the Lady Fist doesn't lose too much damage from not having a double prefix. It's only like about a 7% increase in damage by having a double, and it does make it slightly less accurate. So if you want pure DPS, go double, but if you want a little more accuracy at long ranges, go either fire rate or damage. It's really up to you. And that will pretty much wrap it up for the top 5 pistols. Now, before we end this episode, let's go ahead and go over where exactly you can find all of these pistols, starting with the Stalker. Now, the Stalker is a Pearl, so you will be able to find this randomly throughout UVHM from 50 to 72. No real exact location. For the Herald, you're going to be able to get that from Savage Lee, or you can go to the Torgue vendors in the Torgue DLC and get it from there. For the Fibber, you can get that from Mal in Iridium Blight. Don't do it because it's bad. For the Lady Fist, you can get this from TK Baha's mission in the Arid Nexus. And for the Garnet Anarchist, you can get this from Butt Stallion in the Tiny Tina DLC. And you'll notice I have an Unforgiven. The reason I have that is because, well, someone said that the Unforgiven can match the Herald in DPS. So I'm going to let you guys end this video with this little clip here. As always, I want to thank you all for watching the video. If you enjoy this, be sure to hit that like button, help support me in what I do, and I will see you all in the next episode, which is going to be Best in Slot Sniper Rifles. And I'll see you guys later.